Hey, Printavos, welcome back to the podcast. Another awesome episode, a different one, another workshop part 2. We're chatting with Billy again, who's going through his process of hiring a production manager. And we're just poking at Steven as to how to figure this one out. We're talking all about job descriptions, interview process, training. There's a lot in this one.
I think what's interesting is when we started chatting with Billy, Billy had hired a production manager, wasn't 100% sold on him. And then 2 weeks later, Billy let us know he fired him. And it's pretty sweet how he thought through everything, but I think he's like having the opportunity now to do it correctly. And kind of cool to talk through, you know, the right job description, what the first 2 weeks look like, skills that you should be interviewing for, and then what went wrong last time that we're going to do again this time. So super fun episode.
Really quick, before we get started, 4 incredible sponsors. You guys know the names. We're going to list them out because they are here to support us and our industry. So give them a shout out, a check out, everything. First up, Supercolor. Supercolor is the world's best heat transfer. They're made by screen printers for screen printers, and they really understand the pressures and expectations of running a screen printing business. And so that's why they pride themselves on being super fast and super easy. They've got this incredible new 2.0 next gen transfer that they've tested on so many different types of heat presses. But I think even more than that, their support team is just incredible. Getting back to you super fast, delivering something if there's an issue. I mean, they're just there. They're partners with you to help you succeed. And check them out, supercolor.com. Use Printavo15, and that gets you 15% off your first order.
I have to give a shout out to Dennis at Supercolor. He handled an order. We sent him the file size incorrectly, and he called me right back. He said, "Hey, I just noticed you didn't upload this correctly. And I didn't want to print before checking with you." I was like, "Thanks." He goes, "Yeah, you can text me." Like, awesome. So it is real. They're incredible at it. So thanks, Supercolor. All right, Bruce, have you heard of multicraft_daddy?
No. Who's that?
I don't know how many. Maybe he's on the new Twitter or Instagram threads. We'll have to ask him about that. But I don't know how followers.
807.
Is he 800? 807. He's over 800. Wow. Well, we love Multicraft Daddy, and he's been supplying screen printing angel supplies with Multicraft. And if you mention the Printavo podcast, you'll receive an extra 10% off your first order. Also giving away a case of free PMI tape per episode. So you can DM him. He'll pick a winner every week. This is for new customers only. Let's get him to 1,000 followers. And thanks so much, PMI, for helping Multicraft Eddie there. All right, Bruce, who we got next?
If you need a solution to help improve efficiency and reduce costs in your art department, GraphX Source offers leading industry outsourcing options to help your shop. It's really interesting. We have so many different guests on here that run shops from all over, and so many more are using GraphX Source. We just had an incredible guest the other day who's giving them a try and having a lot of success. They plug and play into your workflow management, whether it's Printavo or any other tool, and they're just going to help. Their big things are SEPs, mockups, creative art, but they also do order management, digitizing, back office admin, and customer service. So give them a check out. They've been around for 30 plus years in the game, so they really can be able to help you understand what's going on and be able to execute on your needs. That's graphxsource.com. And you can mention the Printavo pod. It gets you 50% off your first vector, SEP, or digitizing order.
If you sign up with GraphX Source in the next 15 days, Nick Wood will personally call you every day and compliment you. That's just a new offer that we put out there. So thanks, Nick Wood, Brent Lucas, the team there. But really, Bruce, you shouldn't spend all day cleaning dirty screens. EasyWay's line of environmentally conscious chemicals will get the job done faster, more efficiently, and will cost you a fraction of the cost per screen. We use 701 and 842, our favorite chemicals. And if you value a company that helps with the how-tos, best practice, and questions, EasyWay there, give them a go. They work with hundreds of distributors. They are the easiest way. There is no other way. So thanks so much to the Easy Way team. We love you guys. All right, let's get to it.
How was your trip, Billy? You were out on vacation for a week, right?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, it was good. It was good. It was a little hectic because we ended up letting go of our production manager, operations manager, a couple of days before we were going to leave.
Did you still go on your trip?
Oh yeah, no, there was no way I wasn't going. But luckily, my mom is, has a good understanding of the business, and a lot of our employees have been here for a while. And summer's usually a little bit slower for us, so we were able to manage. It was fine. I was still on the phone and on my computer, each night. But yeah, we survived. No huge issue.
How much? So first of all, sorry that you had to let someone go like that, because I know we were talking about it.
Yeah.
Walk us through what happened.
So we had like a check-in after, I guess it was 2 weeks, and I kind of gave him a list of things, this is what I'd like you to do. And a lot of it was, he kept saying, I'm just trying to get used to the slower pace of this environment. And I kind of kept saying, I don't think you really understand the job if you think it's a slower paced position. You should really be checking on things all the time, and things are always changing. I said, I think you have that idea because I'm still doing a lot of your position. I'm trying to pass a lot of the stuff off to you. I said, you need to kind of get out of that mindset. Notes was like a huge thing. We were throwing a lot at him. I don't know how he was retaining it because I didn't see him take a single note. And he didn't do that, as well as
that always bugs me too.
Yeah,
like getting someone started and they're not writing anything down. It's like, am I going to be repeating this all next week?
Exactly. Especially in this position where we're kind of looking for you to know a little bit about everything, and you don't have any experience in the industry.
So was there, okay, so this is interesting. He wouldn't take any notes. Then you were like, well, buddy, this isn't slow. Then what broke the camel's back?
The other thing was communication. I said, when a schedule change happens, it needs to be communicated immediately, not in an hour or 2 hours, because there are then chain reactions that are going to happen based on that. And he just did not seem to get it. Like one day we had 3 schedule changes, and I told him, I said, here are the schedule changes. Just make the adjustments. And I go back at the end of the day to our production team, and they had not heard about it. So that happens.
And what'd you say when that happened?
What'd you do?
I said to him the next morning, I said, what did you not understand? Because we had a conversation a few days ago about how these need to be communicated immediately. And he didn't really have an answer for me. So I was like, oh man. So things like that, performance wasn't great. And then talking to some of our other employees, there were some other personality traits that were starting to come out that I wasn't necessarily seeing, that were major red flags. And I kind of made the decision that this is not going to go anywhere if these are some of the other things that are happening when he's not with me. Just like really unprofessional stuff. And it was, combination of not moving forward how I would like, and then those things that I just decided, I think we're wasting our time here.
Dude, congrats to you for doing that, for letting him go.
Yeah.
So quickly too.
Yeah.
What was it?
Yeah. What's that like? You literally ripped the Band-Aid off.
Yeah, it was about a month. We had the performance issues, and then I talked to one employee. He was revealing his salary to other employees, and it wasn't even the correct salary. It was a lot more than we were actually paying him, and he was well aware that he was one of our higher paid employees. So that was, come on.
That's a huge
It's a career-limiting decision to do. Yeah. But honestly, good on you for doing that.
Mhm.
I think a lot of times, like, shop owners will ride those traits out, and you just like set the ground rules. Like, that's not going to fly here. This ain't going to work. We need to pull.
Yeah.
The quicker you pull the trigger, if you kept him for another month, I don't know, say he makes 70 grand a year or whatever, you know, you just waste another $8,000, $10,000 of your time and money. So, like, good for you. You actually like saved yourself a lot from like doing that. Bruce, have you had any quick fires?
Quick. One, and it was more of an attitude problem thing. It's kind of similar to that. But if we can go into like, how would you, let's go into yours, Farag, but I'm just curious of like the interview process too. So like, if we could rechange the interview process for a production manager now knowing this, what do you think you guys would ask for the next person to try to siphon some of these things out?
So one specific issue that we've had with a production manager in the past that was actually working but ended up leaving on their own, and it was the same circumstance for this person. We cannot take people that are taking sizable pay cuts. You know, they both took, around 50% pay cuts because they didn't want to work 60 hours a week and they just didn't want to do that anymore. They just wanted to come in, do their, we advertise this as about a 45-hour per week job, not really any weekend work, very rarely. And that's what they come in saying, and that's what they believe. And in one situation, we had a guy who maybe thought it was an easy job and didn't think he was going to have to do much. And in the other situation, we had somebody who ultimately decided that they did need that money and went back to that kind of position. So I think, that's something that we've run into. We've had people coming into these jobs.
Is this a salaried position or an hourly position?
It is. Yeah, it's a salaried position. Yeah. So that's one thing that we're going to kind of do away with. Is that's
what are
an
the
automatic,
questions?
Disqualifier.
Are there any other questions? Like, how do you take out the note taking thing you mentioned?
Yeah.
You mentioned the attitude thing.
Yeah.
And for you too, Farag, like if there's any that you've used to.
I'm curious, Billy. Yeah, what talk through things you're going to do differently? Because obviously, I don't know if you started the interview process again.
Yeah, we haven't yet. I think we've been looking for people that have experience in a similar type position, maybe in a different industry. And I think maybe we need to start looking for more so personality traits. I don't know that there's really any experience unless they have, they've worked in a print shop before. I don't know that there's really any experience that's going to be super applicable to what we're asking. So I think looking for more personality traits and people that we think are going to mesh well with our team, as opposed to, they managed all these people in this industry, that's transferable over here. So that's one thing we're going to try to put a bit more of an emphasis on, just people that we like and people that we think are going to get along with our team and work well.
I'm curious, Billy, when you put out your first job posting, did you have a really detailed JD or job description?
Yeah, we did. We kind of had talked about it in depth about what exactly we wanted.
But like written out 2-page JD, like these are the expectations.
Not necessarily. And again, that's kind of another thing that we think we need to do a little better is building out exactly what we want people to do.
The number one I saw this on Twitter. Like, you are doing a service to employees if you don't write out a job description before their first day. I think if we were to look at all the print shops in the country and say, like, how many employees in print shops have job descriptions, I bet you far and few between, right? And so, like, if there's one thing you can do is before you hire someone, spend 2 hours writing really tight JD, because then, and it's not like manage employees. No, it's handle, personnel scheduling, and hour clock. That's, like, be analytical about production and report to the owner's output and throughput. Understand quality control and be able to report errors. Be a detailed note taker so you can write procedures for your employees, right? Like those wish lists, putting them into a JD. And I think, Bruce, we started writing one, right? Like the outputs.
Yeah, we have the outputs. Maybe I'll put that together so people can download that listening to this. Do you have one that, Steven, you used in the past?
I have to dig because we've been good for a while on the production manager side, but I do have that template that was given to me on like outputs.
Yeah, I have that. You shared that one.
Yeah, but part of the interview process, Billy. So like, okay, if we look at this interview process, first part is not figuring. It's when you interview someone, there are three things you're looking for: effort, attitude, and skill. Okay, do they have the right attitude? That's personality trait. Are they going to be a pleasure to work with? Is I'm going to love them? Are they going to put in the hours, the sweat? The 60 hours a week that you're looking for. And the last is, do they have the skills or are they going to learn the skills, right? If you solve those three: effort, attitude, skill, you have a credible employee. Some are teachable, some are not teachable. You cannot teach attitude. You cannot teach effort. You can teach skill if they know how to use Excel a little bit, right? Or if they are a note taker, right? So like you can test for skill, but you need to spend a lot of time in the interview process learning about effort and attitude and seeing how it's going to play out. I don't know. That's how I've always tried to and maybe you could even structure your interviews as, hey, this interview is all about attitude and personality. They could take a disc assessment. They could do a presentation. They could tell you a funny joke, whatever it is, but you're going to learn about their attitude. The next one could be effort based and the last one could be skill based, right? Bruce, like you guys do this with engineers, right?
Yeah, I was kind of wondering, is there a way to do a 2-hour test, Farag, of something where you show somebody how to do a task for 30 minutes, has to deal with working with a team, can gauge attitude through it? Like, is there something there in the back that could work with?
Yeah. So like Billy, have you ever done project-based interviews?
Not necessarily. I mean, we do that for printers, actually.
No. I mean, like, here's a file. Here's an Excel file. Make me as many charts. Make a bunch of reports out of it.
All right, real quick, I got to tell you something. This is really interesting, and here's why. We formed a company called Inktovo. You may have heard of it, but it has 3 different brands right now: Printavo, Inksoft, and Graphics. So we're all sister companies now, a big happy family. What we're able to do is Printavo's managing your shop management and workflow organization. Inksoft can run your website and handle online stores at scale. So running multiple different stores for fundraisers, schools, company stores, and everything in between. And Graphics Flow is a brand new product to be able to help reduce all the back and forth with art. So it has a huge art library that you can put on your website so customers can see and pluck what they want. Plus, you can also be able to collect different ideas and send them to customers to approve as well. Really, really cool. Plus, in-app editing. It's like Canva, but specifically for shops. All right, check it out. All those brands are on Inktovo.com. That's Inktovo.com. All right, thanks.
Oh, no, we haven't necessarily done that, no.
Okay. So if this production manager is going to be numbers heavy, you have to test their skills on numbers. And it could just be like, Bruce, I think to your point, how do you test that? Hey, here's our production data from the last week. I want you to come up with whatever information you think is relevant and present to me. Don't spend more than an hour. And you can just see like, oh, do they understand how to sum a table? Do they make a chart? If they didn't know, they go on Google and learn how to do it, right? Bruce, wouldn't that show you everything you need in an hour?
Could you almost do this with a real production schedule for a day? So like if we just shared an Excel sheet together and said, here are the 30 jobs we need to get done this week. And the columns maybe are the different characteristics of the job. So it could be in simplifying it. So just how long it's going to take, the complexity from 1 to 3, we'll call it, and the person assigned to it, right? And the due date. And then allow them to talk through trying to schedule things. Like, would that be viable or no? And like, cause I think it's not, I don't know if it's necessarily solving the problem. It's more of what questions are they asking? Like, how do they approach it? Like almost as close to a real life interview test circumstance, right? Because it'd be amazing if you could test them out for a week, but obviously I'm sure they have a current job or whatever the deal is, and they're not able to do that.
I think what you kind of said, seeing maybe they don't solve it, but seeing how they work through it, seeing what their approach is, and seeing what kind of steps that they take. I think that would be a good way. I like the project.
And I think like, letting them ask as many questions, but also seeing what their final deliverable looks like. Mm-hmm. Right? Like doing the best you can, put out your best work. Because then you could see like, you're going to see like, did they get to you fast? Did it take them a week to do or a night to do? I think that to me, like one of the big things I like to test for is how fast did you work? And then like, how much did you take pride in it? Even if you had to fake it. I love when I'll be like a project. It's like, I didn't do this, so I did my best and I found this cool pie chart that's going to work. I just want to see like, are they thinking on their toes? And then when we did get stuck, did they ask for good questions, right? I think that to me is more important than necessarily being so good at scheduling, like how they actually did the project.
But I do think it would be helpful to do this in person. So if it was an hour, because I think part of it, what happens that I find is when you push people a little bit, like why did you pick job 3 to be run on job 1? Could you have done it differently? Like, shouldn't this one be there? Like people tend to actually show their true emotions and either start to crack under pressure or ask, like the most ideal I feel like is someone that's, oh, that's actually a good point. A good self-awareness. Right. Like, how could you have done this project differently? How would you have rate yourself on how you did during this exercise? It may be just interesting to try to I'm just trying to sense out for those personality traits and pushing on their ability to solve for this and getting them a little bit frustrated and flustered. Are they able to handle it? Because if they can't handle this in an hour, I just can't imagine with real people, real jobs going on. It's hot,
That's interesting.
It's not going to happen.
So what you're saying, Bruce, is you usually want to fluster them a little bit and see how they crack. Like if Billy, you tell them something's wrong, do they get defensive? Do they get angry? Do they say, "Oh, that's a really good point"? Yeah, okay, cool. I took feedback. Well, interesting.
We did this with sales folks where we would always do a mock interview and I would call them and I said, hey, pretend like you work at a clock business, you're selling clocks, and I'm going to call you as a customer. Everybody knows what a clock does and how it works. And if you're a salesperson, you can, if you're going to ask me good questions, oh, well, what's the problem? Like, why are you looking for one? What types of clocks are you looking for? And if I keep cutting them off a couple times, like that's like a sign that if they're just, sort of start to check out of the exercise. But it helped me as a filter. And then at the end, I was always looking for, like, for example, did they ask me for my info to follow up on? That was another thing. Okay, so they've done sales a little bit here. They're patient, they're empathetic, they ask good questions, they could figure it out on the fly. And I think it was a good gate to help get rid of some bad apples.
So Billy, like the takeaways here I'm hearing is get a job description written as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Get it out there on Indeed, LinkedIn, and start sourcing as many people as you can. And try to come up with a 3-step interview process of a first round interview, like a phone screen, a Zoom call, a project, and like a final interview. You almost have to run it like a sales pipeline a little bit.
I like
that. Seems stressful.
Yeah. I mean, I like the project based idea, just because at the end of the day, you could do as much as you want on the interview process, but you don't know what you get until they get in there and start working.
I feel like when we interview as shop owners, we're always interviewing desperate, and so we'll just take the first person that comes our way.
Yeah. What helps me reduce that desperation is having other people in the company interview them with me. So maybe that person that you went to, Billy, that they didn't talk to in the right way or whatever, they're in the in-person interview, or maybe they're at part 2 of it and they come in, they have questions. And I'll say, hey, look, I need you to think about this for a bit. Like, what are the types of questions that are on the job stuff that you want to know that they could do well? Because I really value your opinion. And their opinion gets rid a lot of my desperation, because I'll just be like, they're good, right? Like, everything good? Are we all good? And, I don't know. They answered this one kind of funky, and that slows my roll.
Yeah. And I think we just need to be patient. Like, looking back, and I've kind of been evaluating how we went about it. It was not a candidate that I loved. It was really just the best of who we had interviewed, and we had gone through a bunch of people, and I said, well, we just need to get somebody in here. And I think that was the wrong attitude to have about it, because now we wasted a month and we're at the same spot we were.
Yeah. So I think something though, like when you think about your hiring process right now, I just shared with you our hiring process template that I've used in the past that got different steps. You're doing the interviews. Who else is interviewing? Your dad, your mom, who else?
I mean, it's mostly me. If we're interviewing for a printer, it'll be me and our head screen printer. He'll be talking to them.
This role specifically is intense. This is a big role.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I would even challenge you, Billy, to write out, like, the first interview is going to be a 10-minute phone call with me. The second interview is going to be me and my head screen printer. The third interview is going to be my mom and my dad. Fourth interview is going to be the project. Then it's like, then everyone does the same thing every time. And it's like, we have a round 2 interview here. It's me and screen printer, and we're asking the same questions. Oh, this interview is for dad. Dad, I need you to challenge them on these 4 things, right? Mm-hmm. And you do that for 5 or 6 people, you're going to learn, and then you can actually move really quickly. You can bang them out all in 2 weeks. You actually have a process, and you can vet and you can talk about it. Because, like, sometimes I'll interview someone and I'll get high on them, and, like, I don't be like, yo, dude, did you see that, like, huge flag? I'll be like, no, but they're awesome. And I'm just like, I have my blinders on, Mm-hmm. So if you can bring more people in the interview process, that's super helpful. I'm curious. Okay, you went out of town though right after you fired him.
Yes.
And did the shop run and your mom had to help out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was she there every day, like doing your job?
She was there every day. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So I'm curious, like, you were managing sort of your mom as the production manager and your shop, and you weren't there every day. What did you learn about the business then that week? I don't know. I think that's interesting.
I don't know that I learned anything I already didn't know. I think we've had issues with the salespeople not putting all of the information in the order, and then it kind of comes to a stopping point, and the only person that knows the answer is the salesperson.
You're the salesperson?
It's more so the other salesperson.
Oh, is that salesperson senior?
Yeah.
Okay. So say it. Like, my dad doesn't put information in right, and it fucks up production.
Correct. Okay. So that's something that I already knew. And that causes a lot of the problems that we have.
Okay.
People.
What else did you take away?
What else did I take away? I don't think a whole lot else. I think we need to empower the employees a lot. Like the woman who does our purchasing still comes to me with a lot of questions, and I don't want her to stop coming with questions, but there's a lot of things that she can handle on her own that she was still, sending me emails about or calling me about. And I kind of said to her when I get back, I was like, you can handle these things. Like, what to do. You don't need my sign off. I trust you to communicate with the customer or make the decision that needs to be made. So I think communicating that with employees, that not everything needs to.
Do you think she feels like if she doesn't have that power to make that decision and she's worried about fucking it up, or?
I think she's worried about making the mistake and always just wants to.
Do you think that's a you problem or a her problem?
Probably a her problem, because she's a perfectionist. She just doesn't want to get it wrong. So if I'm here, she has access to talking to me. She's going to double check to me.
Okay. So wait, you said if you're there, she has access to you. So so how do you solve that problem?
Well, even when I wasn't there, I was still getting messages. So I tried
So
to
how do you solve that problem?
not being here.
Become inaccessible.
Yeah.
You are the problem to powering your employees. You have to say to them, seriously, hey, I'm not going to make the decision. You make the decision. See you later. Because every time you make the decision for her, you're just enabling her.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
I did have that. I had that conversation when I got back. I said, you can make these decisions. You do not need to talk to me.
But when you're in the moment of decision, why don't you use that opportunity to just say, hey, I'm not making the call. You are. Have a nice day on vacation.
Yeah, I guess that's one way to do it.
I don't know. So who has the control problem? You or her?
Oh, no, I can acknowledge I definitely have a control problem. I'm not denying that.
Dude, Bruce, are you seeing this?
Billy, we had a really good shop owner at Silver Screen Printing yesterday. His name's Dan, and he is like a professional CEO. And so, he's coming to companies with 1,000 people to help turn them around and like create so first he looks at the finances, he gets rid of the unprofitable pieces, he looks at the team, he gets rid of the bad people, he brings in the right people to be able to not directly manage everybody. So he has his management. And then the last thing he says is he lets people fail. And I think like as owners, that is a hard skill to master. I can't say I have by any means. And, he's able to say like, yeah, I mean, I let them flounder around for a week and then come to the conclusion because they don't ever come to it if I keep giving it to them. So that reminded me of that, of this, and is something for all of us always that we're working on. So I'm sure you have questions written down. And I know we were kind of asking on updates and everything from before. What'd you have written down?
I mean, one of my questions was, we kind of answered it with the interview process. Because looking back, I said, we need to change something. We've been doing this way for this long. So there needs to be, it's not just the employees that we're hiring. We're the ones doing the hiring. So we need to change our process. So that kind of answered one of my main questions. I guess, Stephen, what were were there specific skills that you were looking for your production manager? Were you basing it more off that? Were you looking at their previous work experience? Kind of.
Okay, so I messed this up 3 times. The first time I had an individual, so I messed this up 4 times. Promoted from within for the best printer, wasn't the best manager. Quickly failed there. I think what I have learned is that the personality and attitude are the most important parts, and like the willingness and humbleness to learn. So I'll brag about Chad for a second here, but I tried really hard to interview to hire for skills, not personality. And then we found bad. Chad came from the logistics, grocery industry, which we're talking truckloads of fruit that could perish if the wrong delivery dates are hit, right? Like, it has to get broccoli to this market and this and that. It's like all the logistics nationally for like Panda Express. And so he obviously understood scheduling and timing, because can't mess up food like fresh produce. But really, it was like his reputation. Like, he's a little bit older. He's super calm. He's super cool. I could grab dinner with him. I legitimately like him and want to hang out with him. And he like treat the business like it's his own, And so, I can rely on him to go to FedEx at 7 p.m., rush something if I need be, but he also will, cook out for the team on a Friday or tell people to go home early or someone to put their phone away, all the other skills we're learning and he's getting better and better at them. But like for me, it was all personality based because he is going to replace me. And so important that the two of us got along so well. And that was the most important part to me. And I think, in the last 6 months, I've been on production floor maybe a total of 40 hours. I do not go on the production floor.
Did you get signs of this through it? Were there certain things you asked for that pulled that, or was it basically a gamble? Which a lot of hiring is still.
It was a little bit of a gamble. So
probability.
One thing I do is I let lots of other people interview him. Like I was like, if you are going to have the most important job in our shop, I need a bunch of people to interview you. So like a production coordinator, Myla, who has been there the longest, is one of the youngest people in our business, but is most opinionated and knows the most. I was like, Myla, you're going to have to work this guy. And after she's like, I love Chad. I could see myself working next to him. Cool. Right. Like I let some people, like a remote employee that's really operational focus, interview to like us for that. I let my business partner interview him, and then I was on the last interview of like, okay, you made it through everyone. Now let's get to like business here. So I think probably bringing other people in the interview process and me having the last opinion made a much better process versus me selling it to our team. Does that make sense? Bruce, like, what about you? Do you do the first interview or the last interview or every interview? What do you do?
When I was doing it more, I was more in the last interview when we had a team built out. Now it's harder though if you don't have that function. I mean, like ideally there's whoever they're reporting to is now if this person's reporting directly to you, then yeah, I mean, you're going to have to just spend time in the groundwork, but I think that's important though, right? This is a manager. So, but in my phone screens, I had, like a short thing that they need to write, like why basically are you interested in this? That filters out so many people. Like these little sort of pre-screen questions got rid of so much crap that I didn't want to have a phone call with. And so those types of questions I found helpful because you get a lot of applications and it's just a waste of time. For both
Bruce,
of us,
the other
honestly.
thing you did early on is you had Wendy do some of your reviews for you, like a third party HR agency.
Yeah. So we use this lady, Wendy Davids, and I'll share her info. She started a company called BHRS Partners. So her email's wendy@bhrspartners.com. She's incredible. We had her do phone screens towards the end though. So I did an initial phone screen, then I passed to her, then I did the team final interview. And what is amazing is that people tell somebody else outside of the business so much more information. So she would ask really good questions. First, she learned about the role from you and so on. She'd ask all these good questions. She read a report and, again, it's just another filter. And people just dump all this info. I don't know why, but they do because it's not the owner or they're not in the company and they think they could just share. Incredible stopgate to really understand more about the candidate. I'll share that contact info in the description here too.
Yeah. Okay. What are your next, the next 10 days, get off this call today, what's happening in the next week and a half?
Yeah. I mean, we haven't posted the job yet because last week was kind of crazy and short week. We'll probably post it in the next day or two. We were already going through the process of refining the job description, being a bit more detailed and that kind of thing. So we're working on that. And then we also was waiting to talk to some other people to review how we do our interviews and, have a bit more of a structure to that and a different structure than what we were doing currently. Because, I would do a phone screen. I would talk to them. I'd give them a tour and show them what we did. And then I'd have maybe one other person talk to them. And that was kind of how I would get my feel for them. And I think it's really easy for somebody to just kind of bullshit their way through that and tell you what you want to hear and that kind of thing. So I don't think it was comprehensive.
We use a tool called Workable that helps us in the interview process, and it posts to a bunch of like different job boards, and it helps us with job descriptions and stuff. Granted, I don't know if you necessarily need it. It's like $300 a month, but you basically pay for it when you're using it, and then you can turn it off. And then it helps through the interview process. We really like it. But you can I just sent you it. I don't. You can see some good job descriptions, probably some lame job descriptions on there, but hopefully they're helpful. So yeah, I would really try to get that JD written, and then you could actually write out your interview process. What is the interview process that you guys are going to adhere to, and who's going to be responsible for it? Because you don't want to just be like, I think you're going to talk to this person next. You want to be like, okay, the next step of the interview is to talk to my dad. Mm-hmm. This is going to be a behavioral interview, and you're going to have 30 minutes to present to him on why you're a good fit in a family business. You know, whatever. Okay.
Yeah. And then I guess the other question I had, just another thing I've been looking at, is the first 2 weeks. I'd be curious to know how you kind of handle training them. I had what I would thought would be the best way. I'm sure there's not one right answer to this, but
dude, the first 2 weeks are so hard.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a little story though. I'll tell you, this just happened to us. We hired 2 VAs from the Philippines. Our CFO took one and our ops team took the other. Our CFO met with this person every day for an hour and a half on Zoom, and like literally handhold. Like, I'm doing this. Okay, you're doing this. I'm doing this. You do this. I'm doing this. You do this. Third one, our team wrote out a ton of SOPs, get to them, let them self-manage, and it's not going well. So I think the point that I'm trying to make is the first 2 weeks, you should have a really concrete plan. They should never leave your side. Literally, if you go to lunch, like they go to lunch with you. If you go pee, they wait outside the door. But if like, so they can see like what, if they truly are going to replace you, they can literally not leave your side. And you go on a delivery for a random delivery that you have to do because someone didn't do something, they come with you. Right. And they burn into your buddy. And then, you know, you say, okay, now you go do it. I think that's the best advice I can give for the first 2 weeks is everything should be in lockstep with you. Bruce, what about you for the first 2 weeks? What advice?
Let me share my screen. So if you're listening on YouTube, you guys can be able to see this. This is our initial company handbook that we had. So basically the goal was to, is it loading? Is it loading in here? Can you see it or no? Okay. So basically the goal was I want to ideally be able to train someone and not physically be there. So now, granted, that's not like what's going to happen, but I want so much information there that could happen in theory. And I think what turns out the benefit is this, you know, for every person you bring on, this is a version of what they're going to start going through anyway. So each day for the first 5 days is broken down into 15-minute increments, essentially. So, you know, you come through the first 15 minutes, we're going to walk around the office. Then till noon, we're going to do about the company one-on-one. So history, the industry, we're going to talk about our culture and how we deal with customers and everything there. Then we get a team lunch. Everybody, you know, come on with, we're going to go get food together, meet and greet a little bit there, talk about HR stuff. And then we start to get into your role. Your role goes through like this is very role dependent, but we've got a lot of software tools and things they go through. And you can see like through day 2 through day 3, there's a scavenger hunt that we do on day 3 that helps them test what they've been learning before. So that's like, hey, in Printavo, how do you send an approval, for example? And that could be an example of a scavenger hunt that you build of, you know, what's the process to clean this up or bring this person or take jobs from here to there, whatever it is. And then again, and then it keeps going, right? So it's like everything that I wanted for those first 2 weeks that they're supposed to be doing, those are all the things that I literally wrote down. And if you click on one, it goes to a paragraph about more info and a Loom video. So it was, this is the tool. This is what we're going to be talking about. So they can go back later and watch it again for info. Takes, again, a lot of time, couple days to really flesh this out of just constant working on it. But we've used it again and again and again so many times. It's paid so much dividends.
I'm going to share mine. So Bruce, you have a Google sheet that you use. This is what we do. So we have a Notion board called New Hires. And whenever we hire someone new, they have their own Kanban board. It goes through all their different training things that they're going to need to do. When you click one, it's got, welcome to Campus Inc. And it's got a letter from me, and they've just slide it across. And so, it's kind of like a, hey, here's a 25-minute video you're going to need to watch, so that there's a little bit of time where it's, you've got homework that you need to do. And we just duplicate every single time. We even go as deep as how to communicate, what's communication protocol, what's our culture like. And then their manager just assigns them what they're going to have to do. So yeah, like you could do it a bunch of different ways, Billy, but like having some sort of structure, whether it's a Google sheet or a schedule or a Trello or Notion board, have something for them so they have a home base to live. And it could be like, here's where you're going to take notes. Here's how to take notes, those kind of things. Those two, whatever system you use, having some sort of system in place on their first day that look polished is the most important thing. So they take you seriously, right? I think that's the point. So
it's actually a good point to think about. Like, so they take it seriously too. And I think if it's the right candidate, they're excited. Like, holy crap, they're really, helping me out to get started. I've heard that feedback a lot, which is cool. Or, they'll be like, I started this other job and I didn't get, I kind of sat there for a couple of days or whatever. But
Billy, this is how far I get to. Like, I duplicate their Notion board. Their first training thing, their first self guide is a 30-minute video on how to use Notion. They have to take. Because like, if you don't know how to use the tool that I'm about to give you, I didn't train you to use that tool. That's the level of detail that you can get into. And that's how you will create an employee that really takes you seriously. Like, wow, guy really cares about the tools that we use, So you got your work cut out for you. But dude, I have to say, like, how does your dad feel about you letting go of him?
He was fine with it. I mean, he's really let me take the lead on everything. So, I've been keeping him in the loop with what's going on. And yeah, I went to his office after I met with this one employee and I said, hey, I think we have to get rid of him today. And he was like, really? I said, yeah. And he didn't even ask why. He just said, okay. So if that's how you feel,
that's awesome.
I trust you. Yeah. Some of the things
that's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
That's the one thing that he has. He trusts me, and that's the one thing that we have done successfully is he's able to get out of the office more, which was really the whole goal at the beginning was to get him out of the office more, and he's more comfortable.
Now he just has to put in. Now he can't. He'll still mess up his orders, and he's not going to fix them, right? Because your dad. But you can find a VA or someone to clean up his orders before they get printed properly.
Yeah. Because it's
like, that's the same thing with my business partner, Jed. Jed's not going to put the right imprint location, but we know if it's Jed's order, someone's going to call him up and say, Jed, I need to clean this up before I put it in production. So you got to give your old man some credit, but you can find ways to help him also not have a ton of responsibility of putting in orders, So that's pretty cool.
That's kind of the next step is once we figure out this, probably hiring an actual salesperson. So then that salesperson
for another life. Yeah.
Yeah. That's who knows how far down the line that is. So
cool.
Yeah. Other than that, everything's going all right, but this is just a big hurdle.
Yeah, we'll get through it. Should we set up a month from now? Should we do a month out? What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, hopefully a month out we have somebody, because that's the
How
other
about
thing.
this?
Now, kind of race against the clock.
How do we hold each other accountable though? Send us your JD and job description, like maybe by like Monday. Just send it to us. Be like, hey, I'm just so you're held accountable to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, now we're trying to get somebody in here quickly to get them trained up and up to speed for. We go similar to how school goes with how busy we are. So end of July, August, we start to pick up again. So that we need to have somebody in here and pretty soon.
Okay, so the 3 things, the 3 deliverables, and I'm going to try to put these together as well so other people can be able to utilize job description, interview process, and then production manager training, the training schedule for the first couple of weeks.
Training schedule. Don't get that by Monday. Get that like next. Focus on JD and hiring process, and then the last one has to be done before their first day. Like we'll just set something like 2 weeks from today or something.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much for listening. Hopefully that was informative. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to hit the bell for notifications if you enjoyed this video. If you enjoy all the stuff we're putting out, it's really helpful. We love to just be able to see it. That means that we're doing a good job. To subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and hit the like button. And I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.